When it comes to Mr. Freeze, he has one motivation, one reason to do what he does, and that's to save his dearly beloved, sick, dying wife of cancer or of any other disease according to the story. He's what you consider as a anti-villain. His ways are for good reasons, though they're not very appropriate ways. They're not very good ways to handle a situation. And even Batman has to tell Mr. Freeze that this isn't what his wife Nora wants. In some stories, he's considered sympathetic, and different stories that he's not sympathetic, he's considered as this monstrous type of threat. And so to show these type of stories, I'm going to go over the top 10 best Mr. Freeze stories today. This was a suggestion made by Marvel Knight TW9HB. Thanks to him, this video is made due to that suggestion. I do want to mention that the Real Super Sam and also Mr. Rogues made their own video on the top 5 best Mr. Freeze stories. There are some stories from their videos that are put into this list, sorted by my own opinion, and there might also be some stories they didn't put in this list that I liked. And so, with further ado, we'll start with number 10. Coming at my number 10 is Gotham Central Issue 1 and Issue 2, In the Line of Duty. The creators are Ed Brubaker, Greg Rucka, and Michael Lahr. The story is a two-part story consisting of the first issue of Gotham Central and also the second issue. The story begins with Detective Charles Fields and also Detective Marcus Driver in search of a kidnapping. They believe to find their trace to be right to a proper room of who the kidnapper is. However, they did not find the kidnapper. Due to their surprise, they are met with Mr. Freeze, who freezes Detective Charles to death, turning him into a human icicle. And while at it, he freezes Market Driver's hand against a wall. In anger, agony, and pain, he tells Mr. Freeze that they weren't tipped to look for him, they were tipped to look for a kidnapper. Of course, with no emotion, no feeling, Mr. Freeze says that this is just probably bad luck, and that there's more to come. At the crime scene, bits and pieces of Charles Fields are all across the floor, frozen body parts that is. And just to make matters worse, not long ago, a driver is frozen, having an icicle stuck up his throat. All of this becomes personal for Marcus Driver, and he asks the mayor to let them take care of the case by themselves. Without the help of Batman, do not turn on the bat signal. I really do like this story, even though it's at my number 10. It doesn't really explain what the motives of Mr. Freeze is. It just really describes him as this cold, heartless monster. And I really like how Batman's not used in the story. It's a different portrayal of average police officers who don't have the certain type of intellect or combative or strategy as Batman. And it makes things harder to take down someone like Mr. Freeze. Coming at my number 9 is Battle of the Cow, Commissioner Gordon. A Cold Day in Hell. Writer is Royal McGraw, and the artist is Tom Mandrake. This is a one-parter story that takes place after Batman rests in peace. In this story, Commissioner Gordon is held as hostage, chained to the ground, and held hostage by none other than the villain known as Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze wants to break down Commissioner Gordon, make him feel as if he isn't getting any help. Since Batman's dead, Batman failed the city, is what Mr. Freeze says. Mr. Freeze really picks at Commissioner Gordon in an emotional way, and it's all to really just break him down. He even mentions the lost ones that he loved, people of his lover, or the people of the city, even Batman, his closest friend. There may not be a huge depiction of what's going on or much of a description about the story, but I do like the story because even if it's not really very descriptive why Mr. Freeze is doing his thing, it's kind of a way that Mr. Freeze can break someone down mentally, speaking about their failures, who they lost, making them to where they feel like they're alone. And this feels like the case with Commissioner Gordon without Batman. He wants Commissioner Gordon to feel that without Batman, there's no help. He's gonna die anyways. He lost everything. He's useless. It's useless to fight back. And I think I like a story like this because it shows that Mr. Freeze can fight back, not only physically, but mentally. Coming at my number 8 is Batman issue 375. The Glacier Under Gotham. Writer is Doug Monek and artist is Don Newton. This story is a single issue introducing Vicky Vale and also Alfred's daughter. Mr. Freeze in his Ice Layer hideout has an ice cannon and wants to use it for a specific reason. Now, his reasons are really simple. It's to take over Gotham City, to make it into Iceland, and take over the riches of the people. I really like this story because it reminds me of Batman and Robin, where Arnold Schwarzenegger tries to do the same thing, turning Gotham into an Iceland. And it's really funny that you have two stories that are used in a similar way, where Arnold Schwarzenegger had his own type of ice gun machinery, and Mr. Freeze in the comic books has an ice cannon. Now, I wonder if the movie took inspiration from the comic book, or the comic book took inspiration from the movie. It's still cool, nonetheless, to see two stories played in a similar way in a different perspective. Coming in at my number 7 is Batman issue 308. There will be a cold time in the old town tonight. Writer is Lin Win and artist is John Cowden. This story dates back before Nora Freeze and seems to be relatable. Mr. Freeze is turning people into their henchmen, promising them that they will be immortal through his own experiments. One of the people turned into these henchmen, these ice henchmen, is millionaire John McPhee. Now, there's a reason why Mr. Freeze is doing this, turning these people into ice-like zombies, ice-like henchmen called the Cold Pack. The reason is because he needs to succeed in this experiment. This is for an increased lifespan if he succeeds in his experimentation. He even promises this to Heldy, who is his lover, kind of like what is Nora Freeze before Nora Freeze ever was. However, Heldy does not love this man at all. Now, I must admit, the story is pretty good, even though it's before Batman the Anime series, and even before the episode of Nora and Mr. Freeze becoming the definitive and best, the most popular type of origin story of Mr. Freeze. And I believe that Mr. Freeze would actually do something like this for Nora's sake, so she can have an increase in her lifespan, or even have a cure. At number 6 is Batman issue 525, Frozen Assets. The writer is Doug Monek and artists are Kelly Jones and John Beatty. This story takes place during the events of Underworld, where Necron gives powers to many villains. In this story, Mr. Freeze targets 5 old people to murder them and take their wealth away. However, as they are wealthy, he promised them to have a longer lifespan with cryogenics, or make them simply immortal. And the answer is cryonics. That's his answer. It will simply help people to cheat death. They simply all refuse his offer. This drives him mad and he goes out to kill these people, taking their wealth anyways. He has two henchmen that notice that he's been driven mad, a little bit crazier than he usually is. Mr. Freeze wouldn't do something like this. His henchmen are Ice and Cube, and it could be due to the demonic powers he has from Necron. Now, I know a lot of people probably won't like the story because Mr. Freeze has cryokinesis. However, I'll probably let it pass as it's something part of a story arc where all supervillains kind of have some demonic possession in them. I do think the story is really creepy, and I think that even if he didn't have this cryokinesis, I think Kelly Jones would really portray it well as Doug Monek. I think this story is probably really graphic, and probably, if it ever becomes an animation, it would be rated R. Number 5 is Legends of the Dark Knight, issue 121, Power Plant. Writer is Larry Hama, and artist is Rick Burchett. This story takes place somewhere around No Man's Land. There's a bunch of men around the territory that are frozen around Chinatown. These are called the Ghost Dragons. One of the remaining henchmen of the Ghost Dragons of the game tells Batman, who found out about this, that Mr. Freeze did it. The location of Mr. Freeze is in the castle near some power plant in Chinatown. Mr. Freeze's motivation is to keep energy and supply for the territory he has in Chinatown. In this, he hired henchmen to take furniture and burn it in the power plant so the energy can keep going. This story is pretty much simple and straight to it. I also think it's pretty cool that he has his own type of castle, and that's his ice empire. I think it would be pretty cool if in the future we could see something like that in a future Batman video game, or maybe an anime series, and have some fight scene like that. You know, something to add into, maybe make a Batman No Man's Land type of animation movie and have Mr. Freeze in there for that. Number 4 is Batman Gotham Knights, Fire and Ice. Writer is Robbie Morrison, and artist is Charlie Adlard. This story takes place during the summer. It's summertime in Gotham City, and it's all becoming to a certain type of ice age. Frozen people everywhere, including animals. This area is in Gotham City Park, and the person that freezes these people to death, killing them all, is Mr. Freeze. Batman finds this location and sees everybody frozen to death, knowing exactly who did it, knowing the monster that did it. Batman arrives at the carnival, which is called the Hill, and finds these icicle type of bombs that Mr. Freeze made. It turns out the reason why Mr. Freeze did what he did is because he hates summer. It's dreadful, and he likes the cold weather. He likes winter. He likes everything frozen, just like his heart. I like to believe that the story is a description of what warmth that Mr. Freeze used to have, and losing that turned him to who he is, and possibly losing some loved one that he had turned him into this cold-hearted person. And seeing the happiness of people that he once had makes him feel kind of dreadful. He wants people to feel what he felt. He wants them to feel the cold, antagonizing depression that he has. And so that's probably why he froze Gotham City Park and even goes out to attack the carnival. It's because the only thing that he should feel and everybody should feel is emptiness, not happiness. At number 3 is Batman the 2016 series, issues 51 to 53, Cold Days. The writer is Tom King, and the artist is Lee Weeks. This story arc takes place right after the wedding with Catwoman. Bruce Wayne is witness to court to see if Mr. Freeze is guilty or not about a certain crime. So the court is there to release or dismiss Mr. Freeze of the crime because Batman is believed to use excessive force. There are 3 women that are claimed to be dead, killed by Mr. Freeze. The names are Elizabeth Arian, Moran O'Connell, and Christy Barnhart. Batman examines one of the bodies at a morgue with Commissioner Gordon. Before he did, naturally, they were to die of a blood clot and nothing else. But there's a temperature drop. That is what Batman discovers and immediately connects it to Mr. Freeze. After such excessive force in beating up Mr. Freeze, he leaves him on the road for the police to find, leaving a note. This leads to the court session of Mr. Freeze and Bruce Wayne talking to each other. Bruce Wayne asks Mr. Freeze if he killed a woman. However, he answers no. More yet, he continues that Batman wouldn't take no as an answer. He fought Batman many times, and Batman just kept on forcing the answer, beating him until Mr. Freeze would say something. This leads Bruce Wayne to rethink himself. Maybe that Batman did use excessive force. That Batman did only use yes as an answer because Mr. Freeze is a villain and has done heinous crimes in the past. But maybe this time Mr. Freeze is innocent. Maybe this time Batman was wrong. Another thing that Bruce Wayne believes is that maybe someone killed those women and connected it to Mr. Freeze. Yes, he did escape from his house as he was in house arrest, but he would have done that to fear the Batman, knowing that Batman would come no matter what, innocent or guilty. In fact, the real murderer warned Mr. Freeze that the Batman's coming after him, so he better run, he better hide, because there will be no mercy from the Batman. Bruce Wayne also notes that Batman won't even hear anything or even reason from Mr. Freeze, knowing who he is, knowing that he's a villain. He'll just beat him up and use yes as an answer that he murdered. I really like this story because Bruce Wayne questions himself as Batman, thinking that Batman's been right all this time about other things, that nothing's wrong and everybody should listen to his reasoning. However, in this case, he's questioning himself about certain things. Maybe he got something wrong. Maybe he got some connection wrong. And just for this once, assume that Mr. Freeze has done this because, oh, there's a temperature drop. But it could have been someone else. It could have been someone else that framed Mr. Freeze, and Batman was too blind to see it. In fact, he was too prideful to see it, too much thinking in judgment before listening to reasoning of other things. He was wrong with the connection and didn't solve the puzzle that were obviously having missing puzzle pieces. And number 2 is Legends of the Dark Knight, issue 201 to 203, a 3-parter story arc called Cold Case. The writer is Christos N. Gage, and artist is Ron Ragnar. Batman is forced to focus on the case of a past, as a true crime journalist claims to know the murderer of this crime. And this murder is connected to none other than, you're not going to believe this, Thomas Wayne. The murderer is that this murderer stole organs from women, and the journalist is going to make a book about it. To defend his father and his father's legacy and everything that's true about his father, he goes to the journalist to have a conversation with him. All Bruce Wayne wants to do is reason with the man to have a simple talk. And the journalist understands that Bruce Wayne is offended, but he's still going to do it. He's still going to write the truth, because the truth is the truth to him. Later that night, a bodysuit assassin kills the journalist. Batman needs to find some answers, and so he meets a friend of his father, Lazille, a worker who worked with Thomas Wayne. Now, she had this conversation with Thomas Wayne, talking about how Thomas Wayne told her that there was a certain case that he didn't feel right about, that a certain female client told him that her husband was killing people for organs for her because she was sick. The murderer is none other than Mr. Freeze. He explains that his wife was dying, but Even in the doctors, when they were trying to help her, there was excessive amount of money he had to pay, money he could not afford at all, so he took matters in his own hands. He even admits that Nora figured this out and told Thomas Wayne. That's why he was hiding it, to hide the case of him being the killer. He didn't want people to know that his wife was involved, to make people think that his wife was a monster at all, that she was involved with this murder because she's innocent. But the case is that she wasn't really involved. She just didn't want to turn her husband in because she loved him dearly. She knew that he was trying to help him, but it was wrong what he did. That he needed to get healthy organs for her so she can live, so she can stay with him even longer, that she doesn't have to die. The story really answers that some people are willing to do some things in the name of love, and it could be considered as something really crazy, and the other lover in their state will hide it for them, knowing it's wrong, but they don't want them to face the maximum punishment. And the crime, because of this, will lead both of them to be guilty. In this case, it's a mess between the both of them, that Mr. Freeze knows his wife is dying. He doesn't have the money to give what she needs, and so he takes matters in his hands. She has poor organs. He needs to find people, women, that have healthy organs so she can live. And in the name of love, that's what he does. In the name of love, she hides it for him. And finally, the best story of all, in my opinion, when it comes to Mr. Freeze, is Batman, Mr. Freeze. Writer is Paul Dini and artist is Mark Buckingham. This story is just another retelling of his origin story in a different perspective. Victor Freeze's passion for cryogenetics started at a young age. It becomes a mental disorder as he likes to take insects and animals and freeze them into ice cubes, giving them a longer lifespan. He even tries to do this secretly without being caught by his abusive and aggressive father, who sees his son as a freak and does this with his pet rat, trying to freeze him alive. However, he does get caught by his father. He is sentenced to a school by his parents, who see him as freaks, who will give him a behavioral discipline. However, even though it seems like a respectful school, this school is really harsh, as well as the person that owns the school, as everyone there bullies him and treats him like a freak, making him feel lonely, unloved, unwanted. And it doesn't really help, as it is proven that his parents don't want him because they do not visit him. And then, as destiny would call, he would meet his wife Nora, who was the opposite of him in every way, but made him happy. Soon they would fall in love and get married. Nora Freeze would get sick of a rare case of cancer. In desperation, Victor tries to find a job at Wayne Tech, Star Labs, and LexCorp. However, they couldn't pay him the amount of money he was looking for. Even though GothCorp was really sketchy, and so was Ferris Boyle, he would find a job that would pay him this amount of money, and it would fit his field in cryogenetics. Victor does, however, put matters in his own hands and takes her out of the hospital. He puts her into a valve and freezes her alive, thinking that he can save her. This experimentation, this whole type of job was supposed to be closed, and it is a waste of money that Victor Freeze is using for this type of experimentation. The police would find out about this. What was supposed to be an innocent arrest, Ferris Boyle tells the police officer to take him down, to shoot him, but he shoots the case. Ice and smoke forms everywhere, transforming Victor Freeze into the very own villain we know. Due to the mission shot that the security guard or police officer would have, Victor Freeze is frozen alive. In his own corruption, Ferris Boyle would have his workers take Nora's body for profit. He would place Nora's body into a freezing storage so it would be cold and doesn't melt her body away. Hence would lead to the return of Victor Freeze in a cold bodysuit for his body temperature to match. The birth of Mr. Freeze. I really like this story because it matches up to two type of stories that probably took inspiration from Batman the Anime series, and it also matches up to the DLC of Batman Arkham Origins. But the ending is a bit different to what happens to Nora Freeze, and it's a bit sad. No spoilers ahead. You would have to find out what would happen. However, this is my favorite story because it really describes about Victor Freeze's childhood in a very descriptive and understanding way that would make sense that this could be some type of mental disorder that leads to why Victor Freeze believes that he can make his wife live, have a longer type of expansion in life, cure her, slow her disease, kill it off if he freezes her body. Well, there you have it. This is my top 10 best Mr. Freeze stories. Tell me down below what your favorite is. Maybe not top 10, maybe top 5. I also admit that some of this was going to be hard for me to describe, or so I thought at first. But really, it was honestly really simple, as some stories were down to point and pretty simple of what he was doing, not to as what he was doing, and some of them were just both very descriptive and reasons why he was going to do it. Now, there are two ways of how Mr. Freeze is described. A monster where he has no emotions, really no reasons to why he's doing. It's just because he's very cold-hearted. Or, like the Batman anime series, he does it in the name of love, making him a very sympathetic villain. Anyways, as this video ends, go ahead and leave more suggestions if you want to for future top 10 stories. Leave it to be villains though, because I don't do heroes. And with further ado, I'll see you guys in the next video.